guys, so I just wanted to go through something a little bit more in depth than what I have been going through. What I've been going through is pretty much basics. This is going to give you a bit more background knowledge into what proteins are, where you should be getting them from, and what they're doing basically. So the first point I've got is the difference between essential and non-essential amino acids. So essential amino acids are the amino acids our body can't produce itself, so they need to be ingested for our body to have them. And these are histidine, isoleucine, leucine, lysine, methionine, phenylalanine, threonine, valine, and tryptophan. Those are the 9 essential amino acids that we need to ingest. And I've got the notes here to say the milligrams per kilo per day. So we want, in the order I've just said them, 10, 20, 39, 30, 15, 25, 15, 26 and 4. And those have come from the World Health Organization in 2007, that's when they were. So that's what we need to ingest, that's what they say we need to ingest. Ideally, if you're a training individual and you're at the younger end of the spectrum, you'll be wanting to get as much of that as possible. So we've got conditional essential amino acids or non-essential amino acids, and they are the ones that our body can produce and will produce as much of it as we need, but they can only be used in conjunction with the essential amino acids. So those are glycine, alanine, which a lot of you have probably heard of, tyrosine, serine, cysteine, arginine, which again another big supplement, proline, glutamic acid, and another supplement that a lot of you would have heard of is glutamine, aspartic acid, and asparagine. So all of those are the non-essential amino acids. Those are the ones that our body can produce itself through nitrogen and other such chemicals. So as you can see on the non-essentials, there are a few there that you would have heard of: alanine or beta-alanine, glutamine, and arginine, and those are the ones that typically a lot of supplement companies like to play off of, but your body is producing it itself, and given the right foods it will produce enough of them for you not to have to go out and buy the supplement. So that's the first part I've got. Complete protein sources, so we want to get as many of these as we can because they contain enough of all the essential amino acids that we need to increase our protein synthesis. There's animal based sources and non-animal based sources. So we've got eggs, meat, poultry, dairy and fish, and we've got soy foods and buckwheat are the ones that tend to be used for the non-animal essential complete protein sources. So protein, the incomplete sources are cereals, grains or anything derived of them. So that'd be things like breads, and cereal products like oats and bran flakes, various things like that. So the protein contents of food, and this is for the complete sources, meats, things like beef, pork, lamb, and all those kind of meats contain between 22 and 36% of their body weight or their weight in protein. So if you took 100 grams you'd get 22 to 36 grams depending on the cut and the quality of the meat. So the poultry is the next one. So we've got chicken, turkey and duck, or any kind of bird, grouse, pheasant, all those kind of things. They're typically slightly lower, 15 to 34%. We've got eggs, which most people will know about, 7 to 12 depending on the size and quality of the egg. Free range organic ones tend to have a little bit more higher quality. Dairy is defined as anything made from animal's milk, so that could be goat's cheese, could be regular cheese, any kind of cheeses, yogurts, milk, semi-skimmed, skimmed and full fat or gold top. All of those, it varies from product to product because the way it's processed and the kind of milk that's being used. So the last thing is fish, and everyone knows what fish is: cod, haddock, tuna, that kind of thing is in there as well. These again tend to be moderate, it's 13 to 26% of their body weight. So again, if you had 100 grams of tuna, you'd get 15 to 26 grams of protein. So the incomplete protein sources, grains, things like wheat, rye and oats, they tend to have between 12 and 18%. Oats, for example, have 11 grams per 100 grams, so you can see where that falls into there. Pulses, things like beans, chickpeas, or just regular peas, 5 to 26%, and there's a recent supplement that's come out called pea protein, so that's obviously where that's derived from. A little bit lower quality, again, not a complete source of protein. Nuts and seeds, any nuts, peanuts, macadamia nuts, cashew nuts, anything like that, they contain between 1 and 26, so peanuts tend to be at the higher end of that. Other veg, things like sprouts, carrots, broccoli, tend to be relatively low, 1 to 7% in them, depending on the vegetables. So you can see that there's a lot of foods there, a lot to take in. Just have a look at the food, have a look at the percentages, which you can all see. It's easy to work out. The next thing I'm going to go on to, not necessarily going to be helpful to a lot of you, but just some information that I think is good to know. Protein is used in catabolism, so that's the opposite to anabolism. Catabolism is the breakdown of larger structures into smaller structures. So within the body, that could be the breakdown of protein, our muscles, into the amino acids, or our fat stores broken from triglycerides down into the lipids, or carbs, anything like that. So digestive enzymes are primarily protein based, so our body isn't just using protein for increased muscle mass, skeletal muscle. It's used for digestive muscle, cardiac muscle, and our enzymes. Also, cortisol is protein based, so everyone hears about cortisol, oh, you shouldn't train over this amount of time because cortisol levels increase, and again, cortisol is protein based, so your body's going to use that to produce the cortisol. Cortisol can lead to significant breakdown of muscle tissue if you're overtraining or if you're under eating. The two kind of go hand in hand. Usually if you're under eating, you tend to be overtraining because you can't get the nutrition in. But it means you've got to be eating enough, and this is where, when people are cutting, they come into problems. They restrict themselves so hard that they end up, their cortisol increases, and they end up burning through a lot more muscle than they need to. So next one is protein and anabolism, and that most people know an anabolic state is where we're building things within our bodies. So putting the amino acids back together, repairing muscle, calcium being laid down with the bones, all types of anabolism. So the anabolic phase is generally when we're resting, and the reason that is because when we're exercising, our body goes into a stress response, and it's producing things like adrenaline, and our body also produces cortisol. And again, cortisol is going to tell your body to break down inflammation, and anything in your body is going to provide it with energy, and most of the time that tends to be our muscles, because they can be broken down into glucose. So protein makes up most cells, like I was saying. It's not just our muscles, what we can see. It's our organs, which have to be repaired, things like our skin, and all of our enzymes that we need for vital functions. So testosterone is, it's not directly related to protein, but I just wanted to bring it up. So it's the male hormone, as most of you know. It's the male hormone that is going to increase our muscle mass and size. With that, it's not the only limiting factor. There are a lot of factors that go into that. But men tend to produce 10 times more than women do. So any women that might be watching this, if you're into bodybuilding or if it's just fitness, if you're into bodybuilding, unfortunately you're not going to get as big as the guys generally, because you're going to produce less testosterone. But on the other hand, for girls who don't want to get into the bodybuilding kind of thing, it means that you're not going to get big and bulky. Guys want to get big and bulky, and some of them can't even do it, so you've got no chance of getting that way unless you're really, really hammering it hard and possibly taking steroids. So testosterone increases in trained individuals that signals the body to organise amino acids to build new muscle or connective tissue. And that's pretty obvious. Guys who train, they get their noob gains, and that's because our body is responding to what we're doing and increases the testosterone output to increase the muscle mass and the connective tissue. Sorry I keep looking down at my notes, and sorry the baby's crying, he's just had a bath, he doesn't really like it. So the next point I've got is biological value, or bioavailability, that kind of area. So it's a reference to the amount of protein that can be absorbed, or the amount of a nutrient that can be absorbed with relation to the actual amount in the food. So if the BV biological value is 80, and you've got 100 grams of protein in that, then only 80 grams of that are going to be absorbed by the body. The other 20 are going to be put to waste, basically, because our body can't absorb them. So at this point I'm going to show a table, and as you can see from the table, animal produce, it usually will far outweigh the non-animal sources. So things like your beef is going to outweigh things like peanuts. And again, that comes back to what I was saying at the start with the complete proteins and the incomplete proteins. The complete proteins tend to have a higher biological value because they have all the amino acids in to start producing protein, so our body takes them on far easier than incomplete ones taking on little bits here and there. We want to eat higher quality protein sources, ideally, and that's going to have a higher biological value. So all the talk about organic things is true because they are going to be fed better source foods, and if they're being fed better source foods, their protein or their muscles are going to be of a better quality, and that protein is going to be better quality. So just to recap, again, I'm going to put a shot up of what we've been through so far. We've had complete and incomplete proteins, and we've had the biological value of what it means of that in proteins. We've had certain percentages, and we've had the essential and non-essential amino acids and some numbers there from the World Health Organization. So we've just going to go through and define all of what I've just said. So we've got essential aminos, which is the aminos that we need to digest in order to have them in our body. Our body can't produce them itself, they have to be put into our body in some form. Non-essential amino acids, they are the ones that our bodies can produce, but that's not to say we don't need to ingest them. If we ingest them, it's just going to take the pressure off our body to build them, and it's going to give us the energy to build our muscle. Complete proteins, a complete protein is a protein that has enough of the essential amino acids to increase protein synthesis. Metabolism, cortisol and digestive enzymes are primarily protein based, and anabolism occurs during rest. So this is where you get the difference between a new guy in the gym and a slightly older guy in the gym. The newer guy will come in and train 7 days a week because he thinks he's going to get big because he's training a lot, and the older guy tends to go, okay, cool, I'm training 4 times a week, so I have 3 days of rest, which is where I'm going to really build. But again, protein is not just for skeletal muscle, it's for all of our organs and our skin, and everything but muscle as well. So biological value as well is the amount of the protein that we're actually going to take, rather than the whole amount in the food. So again, things like if you took 100 grams of food and it had an 80% BV, then only 80% of that total amount is going to be absorbed by the body. If I'm not explaining any of this correctly, comment below, and I'll do another video and try and sort it out a little bit. So that's everything I've got for this. If there's any information you feel I've missed out, or you feel could do with being re-explained, again, comment below. Subscribe, rate, I'd really appreciate it, and I just wanted to do a video where it was slightly more in depth and something that you might find a bit more informal. So have a good one, guys, and I will see you later.